So the first thing I'd like you to do is take out your academic notebooks. Okay. So in just a minute, I'm going to have you write on our writing prompt for the day. Can I please have a volunteer to read the writing prompt?
In what way do you see a language differently in different situations? Why?
So what do I mean by use language differently? Let's look at an example. Can I have a volunteer to please read the example? Mom.
I greet my best friend by saying, "Hello, how are you doing on this fine morning?" I greet my grandmother by saying, "What's up?"
Okay. So it might not look like that for you, but so when you're writing, I want you to think about how you speak differently to different people in different situations. And you'll see that I bolded the word why. I'd like you to pay particular attention to why. Why do you speak differently in different situations? So you can go ahead and start writing now. And when you have 30 more seconds left, I'll let you know so you can wrap up what you're writing. So go ahead and okay, so you have 30 more seconds. Please wrap up your thought. Okay, great. So eyes up front, please. So I'd like you to get into a pair with someone next to you. And if you don't have a pair, please join a pair and become a group of 3. So find someone next to you or behind you. So yeah, what we're going to do is get into your pairs. We're going to talk about what you wrote.
We're talking about different kinds of languages.
I think it's when you are using different languages or types of languages in your audience, or versus informal situations and things like that.
My example was I speak more formally when I'm getting evaluated. And I speak less formally with my friends and my family. So the situation warrants, yes, what kind of language I'm using.
Students would always say I was nicer to them.
Say you like.
Yeah.
Oh.
You were like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah, to break out of that. Yeah, I tend to say right a lot. And I'm just agreeing with people, but they're just
Yet, please do so.
not right.
Yeah.
And find a way to show my
Exactly.
understanding.
Yeah.
My filler word.
Okay. So eyes up front, please. Eyes up front, please. So is there a pair who would be willing to share what they wrote about or what they talked about? Examples.
I wrote about how I speak differently at my job versus how I speak to my friends. I'm more casual, but at work I'm more professional. And I have to kind of constrain what I talk about.
Why do you think you're more professional at work?
Because it's a professional environment that if I stray too far into kind of personal life things, I can get in trouble.
Oh, okay, so you can get in trouble. So there's authority there. Makes you speak differently. Okay, anybody else would like to share?
Chris wanted to share.
Yeah, kind of same thing. And with a little different reasoning behind it. Like in my job, there's a lot more technical language that I have to use, being a kind of a medical profession. And so it's kind of important that that I'm literate, that in that vocabulary to be able to effectively communicate to people.
Okay, so to keep your job in that field.
Yeah,
Speak that way.
essentially.
Okay, great. Well, with that in mind, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and review our central focus. You should be familiar with this. Can anyone see well enough to read the central focus?
How do authors use literary devices to achieve different purposes in their writing?
Okay, great. Thank you. Now we're going to look at our learning target for today. Is there anyone who would volunteer to read the learning target? Lexi.
I can compare and contrast Paul Laurence Dunbar's poems We Were the Mask and When Now in the Saints, both for the use of standard English versus dialect, and to identify 2 reasons why an author might choose to use dialect as a literary device in their writing.
Okay, great. So we're going to explore Paul Laurence Dunbar's poems in a bit. He was an African-American poet. These are wonderful poems. We'll see what you think. But first, to unpack this learning target, why don't we go ahead and explore those 2 terms, standard English and dialect. So what I'd like you to do first is just shout out what you think I mean when I say someone speaking or writing in standard English. Who speaks and writes in standard English, in what situations, why, who decides what standard English is? And shout out any thoughts of a definition of standard English.
College leavers.
Okay. College or school.
Formal setting.
Formal.
Language that all can understand universally.
Universal, okay. Anything else? Who decides what standard English is? Any thoughts on that?
The dictionary.
Okay. That's where we go to see what standard English is. Okay, we'll do the same thing for dialect. Does anybody have any thoughts on if someone's speaking in dialect, a definition, what the characteristics of dialect might be?
Situational or regional?
Regional, like, do you have an example of where have you heard a?
They say reckon in Texas.
Okay.
Oh yeah, y'all.
Y'all.
Oh, right, southern.
Southern language. Southern.
Okay,
It's cultural as well, like the African American dialect.
okay, cultural,
Or
okay,
spoken language.
okay, great. Thank you. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple definitions. Can I have a volunteer to read the definition for standard English?
The English that, with respect to spelling, grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary, is substantially uniform, though not devoid of regional differences, that is well established by usage in the formal and informal speech and writing of the educated, and that is widely recognized as acceptable wherever English is spoken and understood.
So is there anything in this definition that we didn't come up with in our exploration that you notice?
Maybe acceptable.
Hmm?
Maybe acceptable.
Okay. Acceptable writing of the, okay, writing of the educated. So, could someone read dialect? The term dialect?
A variation in pronunciation, meaning, or usage from standard language whose origin may be attributed to geography, social class, or culture.
So is there anything in that definition that we didn't hit on in our exploration?
Social class.
Yeah, social class. We didn't talk about pronunciation.
Okay, social class and pronunciation. Okay, great. So what I'd like you to do is in your academic notebooks under literary terms, please write down the definition for dialect. And then we're going to explore the dialect in standard English in 2 poems where the African American writer chose to write 1 poem in standard English and 1 in dialect. And we're going to talk about why he chose to do that. Okay, thank you.